First and foremost, the dissection of Tawheed into categories is something like the dissection of the human body into categories. We have systems, the skeletal system, the muscular system, the blood system, etc. The separate systems cannot exist by themselves. They together make up the human being. So similarly, when we talk about Tawheed, Tawheed deals with Allah's unity, His unique unity. Either in His dominion, in all that He has created, He is without partner. And this refers to what is known as Allah's rububiyyah. Or with reference to Allah's essence and His attributes, we say He is without similitude in His essence and His attributes. In Arabic, it's called Asma wa Sifat. And the third is that Allah is without rival. He is one, uniquely one, without rival in His divinity and in His worship. In Arabic, that's called His uluhiyyah or Ibadah. Now, omission of any one aspect of these three is, in fact, shirk and destruction of Tawheed. Now, this three-part setup was not taught by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, where he said there were three parts to Tawheed, nor by his Sahaba. They didn't say there were three parts to Tawheed. But it was proposed by scholars who came after them, the first, second, third generation scholars. And this came because of a factor. It wasn't just something somebody popped up and created, a scheme of things, analysis, breakdown. It came out of a need. And that need was evident when Islam spread out of Arabia. There was no need in Arabia. There was no need. Tawheed was clear. Either you worshipped Allah or you worshipped the idols. There was just two options. But when Islam spread into Egypt, it spread into what is Iraq and Jordan, Palestine, off into India, etc. Then we had people accepting Islam and coming into Islam with their own philosophies. All of these areas had advanced civilizations with philosophers who proposed various propositions for explaining creation. Why did we come here? How did we come here? What are we supposed to be doing here? Now, according to the scholars of history, they said that the first person to raise the issue of Allah's rububiyyah and control over the universe was an individual from Iraq who converted to Islam, later reverted to Christianity, but he initially converted to Islam, by the name of Sausan. And he was the first recorded individual to deny Qadr. Deny the Qadr. People are still around doing that today. He affirmed human free will because the two couldn't exist simultaneously in his mind and in most people's minds when people sit down and think about it. How can we have free will when Allah has already destined what we're going to do? So this was the philosophical struggle that people went through, people who were into philosophy before. Whereas Islam is clear. We have limited free will. It's limited. How exactly it's limited, Allah knows best. But we do have free will. We experience that. But at the same time, Allah destined everything 50,000 years before the creation. It's all written down already in Lawh al-Mahfuz. But does that force us to do what we choose? Or it is only recording what we were going to choose before we chose? Because Allah knows everything. If He didn't know what we were going to choose, then He wouldn't be the God of creation. So for Muslims, believers, we accept it without fight. Exactly how it is not important to us. The fact that it is what is important to us. And Sausan, who had converted to Islam, and we had people in those early stages of the spread of Islam who would convert to Islam in order to attack Islam from within. They couldn't stop the spread of Islam. They couldn't meet the challenge of Islam as an empire of faith expanding. So the only way was to try to sabotage it from within. So Sausan, when he did his job, he reverted to Christianity. But he already infected an Arab by the name of Ma'bad ibn al-Juhani in Basra. He infected him with the disease which he had. And he became the carrier of that challenge to Tawheed. The early caliphs were vigilant. So when Sawsin's student Ma'bad tried to promote free will over destiny and negate destiny, he was first driven out, threatened, and eventually he was executed by the Umayyad Caliph Marwan in the 8th century, 700 CE. And so was the practice of the early caliphs. The early caliphs vigilantly met the challenge of all of the various ideas which were coming. And from time to time, we find in the historical record that such and such an individual was executed here and there. The executions were basically enough to force people who wanted to promote these ideas to lay low, not to come out in public. Because of course, once this disease spreads, it continues. So scholars, in order to meet this challenge, which had philosophical roots amongst the Byzantines, amongst the Hindu philosophical leaders, amongst the Christians in Egypt and the rest of the Middle East. Their efforts did not disturb the flow of Islam across the region. So the first of the categories which the scholars proposed from 3 categories of Tawheed was Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, maintaining the unique unity of lordship. And this was a result of Allah being the creator in the sense that human beings cannot create. He created existence, everything in existence, from nothing. So he challenges those who challenge his existence with the question in the Quran, Am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in, am humul khaliqun? Did they create from nothing? Or were they themselves created from nothing? Or did they create from nothing? So this affirmed the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the one true power on which everything else depends. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to regularly make the dhikr, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla wa la quwwata expresses Allah's rububiyyah in clear terms. Nothing happens except by His will. Allah also stated about Himself, Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. For any who would have any doubts, everything in creation was by Him. Even the good and the bad of luck. People speak about good luck and bad luck. Right? Actually, the statement of saying, this was my good luck or my bad luck, is a statement of shirk. Yeah. It's widespread. I hear people using it all the time. I correct people almost everywhere I go. There's no such thing as good luck and bad luck. Luck is meant to indicate chance or opportunity. Good fortune is the more classical way in which it was said. In more recent times, it became shortened down to luck. Now, in ancient times, the Roman goddess of luck, her name was Tyche. She was the goddess of good luck and bad luck. So when you say it was my good luck, you are attributing whatever happened to yourself to be from the goddess Fortuna, the Roman goddess of luck. This characteristic of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of rububiyyah also clarifies for us that asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairun lakum. You may dislike something which happened by Allah's qadr to you in your life. You might dislike it. It's not pleasant. But it was actually good for you. And we experience that all the time. Things that we thought were bad luck turned out to be good luck. Allah's destiny, the good and the evil of it. The second category of Tawheed is that of Tawheed al-Asma' wa Sifat. Allah's names and attributes are maintained uniquely by utilizing them only in the context of Allah, not giving them to His creation, except where they have been utilized by Allah or by the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in such a way to indicate the relevant aspects of these names and attributes which human beings share a portion of. So what is required to maintain the unique oneness in Allah's names and attributes is that, one, we only choose names and attributes which Allah has mentioned in the Quran or Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has mentioned in his sunnah. We don't make up any names and attributes. We go from what is authentically narrated to us, and we stay within those bounds. Secondly, we use and understand the names according to their obvious meanings. We don't philosophize. We don't give the names and attributes other meanings to explain them away, because we don't want to attribute to Allah descriptions which may also be used in terms of His creation. Instead, what we do is we understand these names as being unique based on the principle of laysa kamithlihi shay, that there is nothing like Him. As Allah said Himself, nothing is similar to Him. So, if Allah refers to His face in the Quran, we don't say, no, that doesn't mean His face, it actually means His care or His acceptance. No. We just say, laysa kamithlihi shay. In English, we use the term face to refer to the side of the mountain. They speak about the face of the mountain. That's a philosophical explanation if we try to say, well, that's the same way. But it's enough to say that the mountain's face doesn't look like our face, but we call it the face. The face of the clock, used in English also. Anyway, the point is that the names and attributes which Allah has given Himself, we accept them as they are. And we don't give them to His creation. Like for Shiites, for example, Shiites in general, the Twelvers and others, they refer to what they call the 12 infallibles. So they say Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Fatima, and so on, so on, so Hassan and Hussein, and the 12 Imams, they were infallible. They made no mistakes. They were incapable of making mistakes. So as Allah is perfect in that sense, He makes no mistakes, they have also given this attribute to their Imams. And that is the destruction of Tawheed from this perspective. So though you might be practicing Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, you have slipped and fallen in Tawheed al-Asma' wa Sifat. So your Tawheed becomes incomplete. The third category is that of Tawheed al-Ibadah or Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. And those first two categories of rububiyyah and asma wa sifat are not sufficient, to establish Tawheed in its completeness. Because even the pagan Arabs and others recognized God as the creator, Allah as the creator. As Allah said, وَلَئِن سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَهُمْ لَيَقُولَنَّ اللَّهُ. If they are asked who created them, they will say Allah. They don't say it's somebody else created them. However, Allah also went on to say, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Most of them only believe in Allah while giving Him partners. So though they believed in different aspects of rububiyyah, asma wa sifat, they didn't establish Ibadah. They were worshipping other than Allah. So this category of Tawheed, Tawheed al-Ibadah or Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, is the most important aspect of Tawheed. And it is about maintaining the unique unity of worship. As Allah already defined that worship was the very purpose of creation. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. You're all familiar with that. Allah created us to worship Him. Of course, modern philosophers would ask, but why did Allah create us to worship Him? Anybody got an answer? Huh? I can't hear. Anyway, the bottom line is Allah created us to worship Him because He created us for Jannah. He created us for Jannah. As the Prophet ﷺ told us, He created a place for each and every one of us, every human being and jinn. There's a place in Jannah created for us. But He also created in the hellfire a place for us. And we have to choose. Do we want that place in Jannah? Or do we want the place in the hellfire? So this is our choice. So, sufficient to say that what is most important from Tawheed that we should take away from understanding the categories of Tawheed is to establish worship in our lives. This was not only from Allah telling us that He created us to worship Him, but also Him telling us that He sent the messengers in order to tell us to worship Him also. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. Allah said, I only sent a messenger to every nation saying, worship Allah and avoid false gods, Tawheed. So it was the message, the essential message of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as it was Allah's statement with regards to the reason for our creation. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So that basically is the summary of the categories of Tawheed. All right, Barakallah fikum, Jazakumullah khairan, and I ask Allah to accept the conference as one done for His sake, for spreading of the message of Tawheed, and that you will leave invigorated and encouraged to try to reach out to others in Malaysia. This is your country, and share that message, the message of the prophets. May Allah reward us all for taking on that responsibility. Barakallah fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.